guys, what is happening, and welcome to another episode of Metal Viking with me, your host Viking, and today I will be reviewing the anime adaptation of one of the many Tales of games, Tales of Zestiria, The Cross. Now, without further delay, let's do this. Now, before I get into this review, guys, I just want to point out that I watched the English dub for this series and I didn't watch the original Japanese version. So, throughout the course of this review, I will only be referring to the English voice actors and their performances. The plot revolves around our hero Sorey, who grew up among a race of beings known as the Seraphim. He is a kind and adventurous hero who believes in the legends and tales that humans and Seraphim used to live together and coexist. However, humans can no longer see nor sense the Seraphim, so after an encounter with another human, who happens to be the princess of the human capital, he decides to make his way to the city, and there he becomes involved in an incident during which he pulls out a holy sword from a stone, insert your King Arthur and Fate series jokes here, and ends up becoming the legendary shepherd, who will cleanse the world and save it from the Lord of Calamity. Now, most people will find the plot for this story a typical and generic plot. The world is doomed. Humanity has lost hope. Prophecy of hero exists. Hero arrives, people believe, and hero begins quest to save the world. Despite this, I personally found the story really intriguing and entertaining. I heard a lot of people found the first couple of episodes boring and slow when it came to the pacing, and I can understand why, but I thought it was an okay build-up to the main event of the story. I should mention that there seems to be another subplot to the story, despite there being only 2 episodes regarding this arc, and also being a promo for the next Tales of game, Tales of Berseria, but whether those stories will intertwine or not is something we'll have to wait and see for the new season, which is currently airing. Now, I am a bit concerned at the same time, for you see, the main plot is fairly enjoyable for the most part, but the 2 episodes that are apparently a promo for the upcoming Tales of Berseria game were actually a lot better than the main story, and I'll explain in a moment as we discuss the characters. Now, our main story has a cast of fairly typical, yet likeable protagonists and antagonists. Firstly, we have Sorey, who is our main hero and is voiced by Robbie Daymond, who voiced Issei Ryudo in Fate Stay Night UVW, and Smokey Brown in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Sorey is your typical good guy who is bright, optimistic, adventurous, and always does what's right. He is also willing to help anyone without question whether he has known them for a long time, or only just met them. Now, my problem with this kind of character writing means that the character's actions will always be predictable as the story progresses. Robbie Daymond does a good job in his portrayal of this kind of character, but ultimately Sorey is a forgettable main character. Secondly, we have Princess Alesia Difter, who is voiced by Alexis Tipton, who is also known for her roles as Mina Caroline in Attack on Titan, and Saya in Blood Sea and Blood Plus. Alesia is, I'd say, a lot more memorable and likable in comparison to Sorey. Even though she is predictable in the actions she takes, she isn't a helpless damsel character, and she seems to flow as a natural badass when it comes to the action scenes and her drive and determination. Alexis Tipton was definitely the right actress to cast for the role, as she can bring out the feminine side and the warrior side of Alesia very well. Sorey is also accompanied by his best friend, who is also a Seraphim named Mikleo, and another Seraphim by the name of Lala, aka the Lady of the Lake. These 2 characters are enjoyable, but sadly nothing about them really stands out apart from their roles in the plot, powers, and designs. One character in the main plot that I really enjoyed was the leader of the Scattered Bones, Rose, who is voiced by Caitlin Glass. Caitlin Glass is a veteran dub voice actor and really brings out both the playful and carefree side of the character as well as her serious and darker side. It's too bad Rose didn't get a lot of screen time like she deserved, but hopefully we'll see more of her in the new season. Now, here is my biggest problem with the show, and where I come back to the points I made about the plot. There are 2 episodes in this season that follow a totally separate cast of characters with a different plot. And let me tell you right now that these 2 episodes alone are way better than the main characters and main plot. As I mentioned before, these 2 episodes are supposedly a promo for the upcoming Tales of Berseria game, which has me really worried for the new season. I mean, the main characters in these episodes alone are extremely memorable, likable, and the plot is just 10 times more interesting than that of the main plot. Our main character is a badass and beautiful lady by the name of Velvet Crow, who has the power to devour demons, steal their powers, and add it to her own. She is voiced by Christina V, who literally does an outstanding performance in making this character not only badass, but mysterious and determined at the same time. Her companions are just as equally interesting and have their own goals and motives, and without giving anything away, the plot is one where, in Elder Scrolls style, there is a prison break followed by an epic story of revenge as the groundwork. My only complaint about this is that why would ufotable throw in these 2 episodes in the middle of the main story just to promote a game? I mean, not only does it kind of sort of take your interest away from the actual main story, but if we don't see more of Velvet and her story in the new season, that is a cruel way to introduce people to what is evidently a superior story with superior characters, only to say to them, fuck you, buy the game and play it if you want to see the rest of the story, as we may not have a full-length series in the future. So I personally want to see more of Velvet and the story of her companions, but if we don't, then let's just hope and pray that Tales of Berseria gets an anime adaptation, and soon. It should go without saying that the animation for this show is extremely gorgeous. I mean, it's ufotable after all. However, the animation lacks the polish of the studio's past works like the Fate adaptations and Garden of the Sinners, but it's still really good animation nonetheless. The CGI in this show is actually really good and well incorporated, unlike Berserk 2016. Granted, there are moments where it looks goofy and more like you're walking up a mountain or rocking Oblivion or Skyrim, but there aren't many scenes like that, so most people will barely notice those flaws. Also, the backgrounds are just plain gorgeous and the effects are a real treat for the eyes. Plus, the color palette for this show has a great range and really fits the tone of the show. The character designs are actually more memorable than the characters themselves. I really enjoyed a lot of the outfits and hairstyles of certain characters. If I had to pick designs that really stood out for me, it would be the assassin armor that the Scattered Bones wear, the outfits for Alesia, Rose, Lila, Velvet, and Ceres. All I can say is that I loved the creativity that went into creating the look of these characters and how their outfits, hairstyles, facial features, and powers complemented their personalities. Now we have the soundtrack. The soundtrack was composed by Matoe Sakuraba and Sayuki, who I am not familiar with at all. Most of the tracks are, like a good portion of modern soundtracks and scores, fine on their own, but aren't identifiable as to what show, series, or game it comes from. That's not to say the soundtrack isn't good, it just isn't very memorable. The English dub is done by Funimation, and it goes without saying that Funimation do amazing dubs, and usually cast appropriate actors and actresses for the characters, so I have no complaints there. So, with everything taken into consideration, who might enjoy this show? Well, if you're a general lover of fantasy like I am, and you want to see some really amazing animation and action scenes, then you'll probably enjoy this. ufotable fans might also enjoy this, but I somehow doubt it, as they'll probably wind up comparing the show to the Fate franchise or Garden of the Sinners, which I agree are superior shows in animation and plot. Is the show generic? Kinda. Is it enjoyable? Depends. If you want an enjoyable fantasy with cool and well choreographed action, then you will definitely like it. But if you're looking for something of the same standard and depth as Berserk, Game of Thrones, The Witcher, or Lord of the Rings, then I'd say skip it. Overall, I'd give this show a rating of 6 out of 10. While I personally enjoyed it and found it something I'd rewatch, I do not believe that the majority of fantasy lovers will remember this show. This series was directed by Haruo Satozaki, who had worked on shows in the past like Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, not as a director though, and on previous Tales of anime adaptations, and the script was written by Hikaru Kondo. You can stream Tales of Zestiria The Cross on Funimation Entertainment's website, Anime Lab, and Daisuke. And that concludes this review for today, guys. What did you guys think of Tales of Zestiria The Cross? And are you as excited as I am for the new season? Let me know in the comments below. Also, guys, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Also, guys, don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and DeviantArt for more awesome stuff. I am Viking, and until next time, have a kick-ass day.